Delroy Anthony, better known as Ital. I'm from right here, St. John, Virgin Islands. Was born in St. Thomas, brought back to St. John. In those days, you had to be brought over to St. Thomas because we didn't have any hospital, we didn't have any clinic. So we were influenced, our parents was influenced to bring you to St. Thomas, be born and be brought right back. I was one of them.
My name is Emmanuel Phillips. I am the son of the current cacique of the Taino tribe here in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
My name is Raven Phillips, and I have been a member of the St. John community since about 2010.
Here at the Folklife Festival, we are here to represent the indigenous peoples that were here in the Caribbean pre-Columbus, which are the Taino people.
Aspect I was representing at the Folklife Festival is the art, music, but really the arts and the craft and some music.
The aspect of Virgin Islands culture that I represent at the Folklife Festival is the ancestral dance of the Virgin Islands, Bambula. To tell you a little bit more about Bambula, Bambula is the ancestral dance of the Virgin Islands, meaning it made its way here from West Africa by way of the Atlantic slave trade. It also shares many elements and qualities with other islands throughout the Caribbean that have ties to West Africa. There are connections to Bomba over in Puerto Rico. There's connections to Belay in parts of the French Caribbean, Guoka, Yabalu. All these dances are interconnected because they have one common ancestor in West Africa. Something to note about Bambula is that it is a mixed practice. It is a combination of dance, of song, and of percussion. It has its history as a form of communication from the time that on the slave plantations where drums were banned. Why? Because it was a form of communication, it was a form of gathering. This dance, this music, this percussion, this use of drums, it is an act of rebellion.
Why is it important to have the Folklife Festival is that I see this time here that we're living in, it is more even vital that we have these things due to what's been happening in the past. A lot of what we've been taught from growing up, we realize as we grow, it has no connection with us. We need things that are connected with us. Your culture is you. You cannot go forward without your culture. Your culture identifies your past, your present, and your future. So if you go without that, sooner or later, it's gonna drop out. It ain't gonna happen. Something is wrong. You know, everybody has a culture, has a background, what they grew up with, who they know, what they did. These are part of the things that need to be implemented, whether it's through music, whether it's through theater play, whether it's through videos, advertisement. It needs to be regulated in our culture because we're losing our culture very fast.
Again, the Folklife Festival, it gives people an opportunity to learn more about where they're from as well. This isn't just about people who don't know anything about the culture. This can also be for people who have grown up in the culture. There are a lot of things that we may have learned. We learn different things as we become more modern, but then also like anybody in this age group or this generation, there's also things that they need to learn as well from the past. So sometimes you have to take the older generation and you mix it with the new generation, but the new generation has to understand that there's a lot of things that worked for a very long time. And to me, when I think about events like the Folklife Festival, I am seeing like two worlds being merged, where you have the generation that are culture bearers that are wanting to teach the next generation, but then you have the next generation that are going to be culture bearers. That's why we are marching for freedom, to die for our homeland. Leaders get down, victory for me. I gonna die like my father, for his ancestors. We never see the
The Folklife Festival is important because it reminds us of how unique and valuable and important the culture of the Virgin Islands is here in St. John. It's not just a place of sun and sand. There are people here, there are lives here, there are legacies here, there's music and dance and food that sustain these people, that have sustained St. John for all this time. It's really important that we have opportunities to stop, acknowledge that, celebrate that, and share that.
The thing I love the most about Virgin Islands culture is its diversity. I absolutely love the idea that tons of different cultures have been able to find one place that they all call home. And I like the fact that we're all able to actually coexist and we learn from each other. Because one of the things that I've recognized from observing other cultures around is that we have so many more similarities than we give credit for. And a friend told me that if you start to focus on the similarities that we have instead of all the differences, the world would be a better place.
Of the expression of my people here, and us being able to share it with people that come from abroad. Okay, we come from an ancient and noble people, a powerful people, a beautiful heritage, go way back. Okay, and it has been buried and it's now re-emerging. And to get it fully on the surface, this is why we also need the Folklife Festival. Because when we meet at the Folklife Festival, that's when we become real and questions come up. I'm getting goosebumps. I feel the ancestors is around me right now. I could feel their presence. This is why we need a Folklife Festival to continue. Because we need to re-examine. Things come up that people don't even want to talk about. Discussions come up that people don't want to touch on. This is what we need. Because the little children, them, they're going to be big adults in the future and they need to know so as they could run the future. To could control, rule the future in time to come. If we don't know about our past, we're in the present, how we going to know about the future? And that's one of our biggest problems. We still been lied and tricked and robbed about the things that we need to know who we are, where we're going, where we've been. These discussions still need to happen. Folklife Festival is a very good place to start. You could bring different cultural, different people, different time, different events, different islands, and we notice over the time we all will connect. Very important. I love that question.
Hook your partner. Over. Right into right.
To be a culture bearer means carrying a torch in a way. It's about lighting the way through uncertain times by reminding people of that culture, of who they are. It's an invitation to dig deep, to explore, to understand, and to be.
To me, being a culture bearer is somebody who represents the culture, who's somebody who's responsible, who's passionate about their culture. And we're here, and the reason is that our culture survives, stay alive. That's my aim, and that's my most important goal of dealing with the Folklife Festival.
Preservation of culture is important because it reminds us of who we are, where we came from, how we have overcome in the past, and how we can continue to overcome in the future. It's the ties that bind us. It's the practices, the sayings, the food, the music that grounds us. We are the culture, and the culture is us.
Some of our challenges that we are facing is that it's not now, it's been going on. Over the years, we have seen it drawn away from the schools, and it needs to begin as a kindergartner, coming up to third grade, fourth grade. Your culture should be a part of it. You should be drawing, you should be painting, you should be in some type of art and craft or cultural aspect where you have to have hands on, whether it's knitting or plaiting, something to keep you familiarized. Even your hands in the soil, that's part of our culture. We need to be familiar because food, stuff, that's our culture, you know.
It's very difficult to try to explain to like young people why the past is so important. However, events like the Folklife Festival, I think, make it a little bit easier because it allows for a more fun and engaging introduction to certain parts of the culture that they wouldn't really want to do it in another way. But because of how the festival is set up, I think that is very inviting, and it gives people an opportunity to just experience culture as opposed to just learning about culture. They get to experience it. Having a space like the festival is one of the best ways to introduce that idea to people and encourage them to become culture bearers as well.
Preservation of culture falls upon both the people of that culture and institutions that aim to uplift and support the people of that culture.
I think that society as a whole, like all of us, we're all in some way, shape, or form responsible for being culture bearers.
The people as in us.
It's a combined effort. The people themselves sustain it, and institutions uplift those people, ensure that they can live, ensure that their practices can continue.
The Folklife Festival is for every age, every ethnicity, everybody from every walk of life.
Folklife Festival is for the people, it is for the visitors, it is for anybody that claims to love the Virgin Islands and wants to see the Virgin Islands flourish.
It's for the people, everyone. Natives, non-natives, people from the other side of the world. We need to come together. Folklife Festival is ideal. You can't miss out. This is it.
If you understand that there is more to this place than just beautiful beaches, the Folklife Festival would be for you, because then this is where you would come to essentially begin that journey of experiencing the culture of like where you're visiting.